Thank you everyone for coming out and to learn more about the McKinley School connectivity project. The roots of this project is going to be answered by this following statement. Might help you understand the process that went forward. The roots of this project were established in 2013 with the Fairfield Bicycle and Pedestrian Master Plan. There was an existing sidewalks and critical gaps in the sidewalk network that showed a completely bare spot in the McKinley School area, North Stratfield School area, and the Mill Hill School neighborhoods. Around the same time, somewhat before and after, the concept of safe routes to schools was implemented. Later in 2018, Fairfield established a complete streets policy and passed a complete streets ordinance in 2023. These policies and ordinances cover the needs of all users, emphasizing safer, efficient, and more comfortable passage. The policy and ordinance recognizes that all users, including children, seniors, people of all abilities, people of all income, transit users, commercial and recreational users. Concurrently, the town and engineering department started receiving emails and requests to provide ADA ramps, sidewalks, traffic cones to better the pedestrian environment. All students living within 3/4 of a mile are considered walkers for McKinley School and 1.5 miles for the high school. In 2023 and later in 2024, the state of Connecticut, DOT Transportation sought community connectivity grant applications. These were very competitive grant applications and programs. They were evaluated and ranked based on a priority score. The project also aligns with the regional safety action plan with MetroCon. Some of the components of this application were budget, public benefit, nearby transportation network, connectivity, commercial areas, transit, or schools. Having enough support with state representatives, RTM members, Board of Ed, and some residents, the engineering department and the town grant writer on behalf of the town applied for the grant. In July 2024, the town was selected amongst many municipalities and was awarded the connectivity grant of $681,900, so almost $682,000. In the fall, we received the town board approval to proceed with the design of this project and to commit a town share by doing so. Since the last public meeting, which I believe was held in October, the town has hired Barton Lees consulting engineers to perform land surveying and unbiased design. No determination on the final layout has been determined, but the grant does have strict guidelines and requirements, and it must follow. Federal, state, and local permits are required. A public involvement process, typically when there's 30% design. So the meeting that we had before was actually a supplemental or a very beginning meeting. A part of the grant process is we have the meeting at 30%, which is what we're having tonight. Environmental screening, any right-of-way acquisitions, the state right-of-way encroachment. The connectivity is critical, and the project would be equitably improving safety and accessibility and connectivity to the schools and Route 58. The streets listed in the first grant are Cardinal, Lenox, Thompson, Knapp's Highway, and Tungus Hill. Route 58 to the bus shelter and Pope Street. These streets were selected based on public support emails, ease of construction, engineering judgment, and on a site investigation and rating. They also were, the whole purpose of this was to have a goal of that pedestrians would only have to travel a block or two at most to reach these new sidewalks. Anticipating that we may have to do more in the area, the town engineering department submitted another grant application. This application was received and was awarded to the town just a few months ago. The agreements are still being finalized this summer and in early fall. The project is considered a priority to the town and the state As phase two, we originally asked for 1.5 million. You might remember at the public information meeting, we said we were gonna apply for a grant for 1.5 million. They gave us 3.5 million. So for those who say that the sidewalks in other neighborhoods, well, we're doing them as well. The other projects that we're doing all over town are in Southport. We just completed the Stratfield Four Corners, Fairfield Center, Kings Highway, Grassmere, and the North Stratfield School and Pequot Avenue are in the hopper as well, where we just recently received money for those projects. And then there's also the Stratfield Road, Churchill to Collingwood, Safe Streets for All program. So that's the whole background of the information. And now I will turn it over to our consultants, who will at least provide some information based on the survey that they did and some engineering judgment, which side of the road or why they picked this or that. I'll leave it up to them.
All right, thank you, Bill. For everybody here in the audience and on Zoom, my name is Kevin Grindle, the project engineer and associate with the firm about to do this. With me this evening is the project manager, Kim Fletcher, who's will be with us as far as the Q&A and has the unfortunate role of toggling my slides, so I have to have the laptop up here with me. So I will be brief in this, as Bill had noted. This is a preliminary design. Engineering side of the world, we call this a 30% design, preliminary design. We have design submissions at 30, at 60%, at 90%, and then when the project is complete and ready to go to construction. The reason that we're here before you this evening at preliminary design is to receive your comments, incorporate them as we can, and then move this project into 60%. Nothing that you see here this evening is cast in stone. As Bill indicated, this is our first unbiased look at this corridor, at this location. Our field surveyors came in and surveyed both sides of the street equally and provided that plan to Kim and myself to design these sidewalks to preliminary design. So again, I will go through with you this evening, again, just a quick bulleted item of the constraints that we look at when we are locating sidewalks in a condition like this, a fairly densely populated suburban environment. We have a number of those constraints, and most of them did show up here. And I will go through that for you briefly before we go through the preliminary designs. That project location will be the next slide, as Bill had indicated. Existing conditions, again, identifying constraints, those proposed conditions, again, on a preliminary basis. And at the very end, some contact information so that we can receive more comments and more questions and respond to them accordingly. So with that on the project location, obviously, everybody in this room knows the streets that we're talking about. This detailed plan shows highlighted in yellow the specific locations. Those specific streets based upon that plan, specifically Cardinal to the north, Hope to the south, running left to right on the screen, a portion of Lenox running north-south into the middle, and then portions of Knapp's Highway, and then over a Thompson up to McKinley School. So with that, you will see this plan on the upcoming slides I show. The design plans will have this plan located on each sheet, and there will be a highlighted color in pink or magenta or purple, depending on how this screen is showing up, highlighting the detailed location of the plan in question. So with that, we can flip to just a very quick analysis of existing conditions. And this is more for myself and our design team, recognizing everybody in this room. These existing conditions are the streets that you live on. And that's the reason you're here tonight to discuss the locations of these sidewalks. Specifically, I think these existing conditions kind of tee up the conversation that we have internally when we start looking about some of those constraints, the locations, the specific ideas of what side of the street to locate these proposed sidewalks, how we're coming into intersections, how we're getting around some of the features that are immovable. And those constraints specifically in this condition come back to existing tree cover, existing tree canopy. Understanding a suburban environment, the very mature trees you have in your neighborhoods, we are trying our best to maintain, preserve, and protect those trees. That becomes one of the highlighted constraints. Another one, slopes. Understanding nobody likes retaining walls, be it the homeowners, the designers, maintainers on the town side. We're trying to eliminate or avoid retaining walls at all costs. So slopes, steep slopes, both up and down from the road, are also something that we view as one of the constraints. Utility poles.
Oh, excuse me, Kevin, if you don't,
Yes.
anybody who can't see that, you feel free to bring your chair up and move up. I don't mind doing that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you got the screen over there, but there still might be some people in the corner if they can't see.
Yeah.
You're invited to come up. Thank you, sir.
So additional constraints, be it utilities, existing poles, existing hydrants, effectively things that are either not able to be moved or very, very difficult to be moved. So those are the items that we key in on initially, and then we start designing proposed alignments, proposed sidewalks around those items. Another item that we look at, obviously, the right-of-way width. That right-of-way width is the width of the street that the town controls. The town-owned property within, that the street is within. In these conditions, this right-of-way is 50 feet wide. The existing pavement is between 25 and 27 feet wide. So roughly, and I am generalizing here, but roughly speaking, from the curb line or edge of pavement back about 10 to 12 feet, depending on the location of the properties in question, the town has ownership of. And that is that 50-foot right-of-way is the area that we're primarily focused on. Understanding that when you site a sidewalk, the intention is that sidewalk is maintained within the public right of way. And in this case, in all conditions, what we're showing you does maintain that objective. The proposed sidewalk is within that 50-foot right of way. And also understanding that we are looking to do all the construction activities within that right of way too. So at this point, again, preliminary design phase, we haven't finalized grading. We haven't finalized those details. But our intention is that those details in that grading indicates that all work associated with these sidewalks are maintained within the town right of way. If that does change during the 60 to 90% design phase, that would be ourselves reaching out to the specific property owners and making contact with you to determine if there's any opportunity to acquire construction-related easements for this work. But again, our intention at this point in preliminary design is that everything is within that 50-foot town right-of-way. So understanding that all the work that we're proposing on the next few slides is maintaining the existing pavement. We're not working within the pavement. We're not reducing pavement widths. We're not increasing pavement widths. What we're doing is the majority of this sidewalk is off the back of the curb, off the back of the pavement, and where possible, we're maintaining a 2 to 3 feet at all, where possible, a grass shelf is effectively what we call it, snow shelf. So effectively, you've got 3 feet of grass between the edge of pavement and the beginning of sidewalk. You will see on some of our design plans that 3-foot area is reduced or compressed so that the sidewalk becomes more of a suburban or urban condition where the sidewalk is the edge of pavement. What we're doing there is reducing that 3-foot, eliminating that 3-foot to account for constraints on the backside of the sidewalk, be it existing vegetation, existing trees, accommodating grade changes, utility poles, hydrants, or so on. Again, that is kind of a site-by-site specific. We have the opportunity to adjust all of these. Again, really just preliminary in concept this evening, but you will see those conditions as we go through these next couple slides. Recognizing that that location and these plans do show a 5-foot width. So this proposed sidewalk is a 5-foot wide sidewalk, and we're proposing that to be a concrete sidewalk. Our concrete sidewalks are hold up much better than asphalt sidewalks. And for a longevity's sake, the intention here is we're maximizing the grant funding that the town has received and putting effectively the best product in as we can so that the long-term maintenance is reduced for the town's behalf. So 5-foot concrete. And again, there are opportunities here. There are locations where we may be suggesting during the design phase that 5-foot does get reduced down to something less, again, to work within the constraints that we have within the right of way. So with that, we can go through these next couple slides in regards to proposed conditions. Understanding, as Bill had indicated, you may not be able to view this in the best as far as this overall slideshow. These plans are available on the town website. During the Q&A session, during even my presentation, there's an opportunity to come up, look at them in more detail. We do have hard copies here that we can also look at in further detail as well, again, depending on your comfort level. But understanding that as we go through this proposed alignment, this one here, we're starting on, as you see in the highlighted purple, as I said on that key map on the top left. This is the western block of Cardinal. You see that the blue highlight along the bottom, those blue highlights are going to be the proposed sidewalks. So on Cardinal, we analyzed those constraints, identified those constraints based on our survey and our field walk, and identified the northern side of Cardinal as just not a feasible location for this proposed alignment for the proposed sidewalk. And that determination has been based upon, again, what I've said initially, existing tree cover, existing grading, and utilities. In many cases, it's the utility poles, it's the location of poles, and it's the location of existing trees. Those two have been the primary driver on this project. The slopes, while we have analyzed them, while we have looked at them in detail, ultimately the slopes have been less of a driver than trying to maintain the existing deciduous tree cover and working in and around UI's existing utility poles. So you do see that lower side of Cardinal, that south side, both on this slide and the following. You will see that southerly alignment on the sidewalk. On this slide here, you will see that sidewalk does maintain a 3-foot grass shelf. So you've got existing curb, existing street, 3 feet of grass, and a 5-foot sidewalk. And that is the proposal that we've got at this point. Once again, we can start fine tuning this after tonight's meeting in regards to developing the design further. And that next step would be analyzing the limits of grading and how these sidewalks come into and out of each one of your dedicated driveways. The intention is that from the edge of street to the back of proposed sidewalk, the driveway apron, the paved apron does get replaced as part of this project. So you would then have a new section of pavement extending from edge of pavement to the back limit of sidewalk. The sidewalk portion that would be closest to your residence would be new pavement, and that would aid in the transition of both grading into the new sidewalk and then also accounting for the disturbance of construction related activity that would be required to construct the sidewalks. Excuse me.
Is asphalt concrete?
The sidewalks are concrete, the driveway aprons are asphalt. So that limit of work right now is to the back of sidewalk. There may be opportunities for some of the driveways to extend beyond that based upon the grading of the driveway. Effectively, if the driveway is going uphill or downhill, we've got to extend that further to catch up the grade once the sidewalks are installed. That will be a site-by-site, property owner by property owner conversation that the town will engage in. But there are opportunities for that conversation, in the coming months. That would be our next phase. So again, this half of Cardinal, this portion of the street again, 3-foot shelf and a concrete sidewalk. This next slide, you will see a portion of Lennox running top to bottom on the left, and then the remainder of Cardinal running along the bottom of the screen. Once again, you see that portion of Cardinal also maintaining a sidewalk on the south side of the road. What we want to maintain here is to eliminate or minimize any crosswalks, with the exception of placing crosswalks at intersections. They are referred to as mid-block crossings. In our case, what we try and do is eliminate those because those are areas of significant pedestrian danger if people are crossing sidewalks or crossing the street between intersections where people may not expect them. So in both cases, both on Cardinal and Pope, where we start the sidewalk on one end, does maintain that alignment on throughout the street. So you see here, we're coming into Lennox with new handicap accessible aprons into the road, into the intersection, as well as new crosswalks across that intersection at Lennox and Cardinal. Furthest east, bottom right, you do also see that new handicap accessible ramps at that intersection as well. You do see on this plan, there's a portion of sidewalk that's connecting to the existing paved sidewalk that's on the north side of Cardinal, shown in gray. We're making that connection so that you have access out to the intersection there as well. So from there, we can move to next slide. And at this point, we transition down to Pope. What we've identified on Pope, similar constraints. Generally speaking, it's trees and utility poles. And in the case of Pope, there is some grading constraints and driveway constraints. What we're looking to do is on Pope, the sidewalk alignment would be on the north side of Pope. So what you see there is on the high side of the street as shown on this plan, be it the north side. Here you will also see a grass shelf, but working your way east on Pope, you see that grass shelf being eliminated, so the sidewalk is immediately adjacent to the road, allowing for some flexibility there to mitigate or otherwise avoid some of the constraints within the town's right of way. Acknowledging that we have that flexibility, recognizing the constraints within the right of way, we're doing our best to save and protect or mitigate those constraints so that in cases along Pope, the sidewalk does come into a condition where it would be immediately adjacent to the edge of pavement. Again, maintaining that 5-foot width of the sidewalk. There are locations in Pope that we can get into detail as far as property by property, but there are hedgerows and existing vegetation that we're trying to preserve and protect. And that's the reason that we're shifting and otherwise realigning the sidewalk down along the edge of pavement. So next sheet would be the remainder of Lenox. And again, you start to see a theme here, 5 foot wide with snow shelf or grass shelf, if you will. Then the portions of Lenox are split into two, just based upon the opportunity to leave them oriented north-south on the page and not rotate everything 90 degrees on you. But you understand that both bottom left and top right, we are maintaining the sidewalk or proposed sidewalk on Lenox on the eastern side or right-hand side of the road as it's shown here. So wrapping up my presentation for this part of the presentation, at least this evening, just a very quick couple slides here. Understanding just a couple engineering technical details in regards to handicap accessible ramps. Top left is shown where the concrete sidewalk is coming into an asphalt driveway. That is the detail that would be promoted here. And then the next detail or the next slide is just a very simple cross section of the sidewalk itself. The application here is a 5 foot, a 5 foot wide and 5-inch thick concrete sidewalk. As I said earlier, that is really the best opportunity for a reduction in long-term maintenance and it goes to a cost-effective long-term maintenance. Following slide is just a very quick graphical representation of what you would see during the construction. This is from a project that we completed for the town of Cheshire. And the top left is what these would look like during construction. It would be simple formwork. This work goes fairly quickly. There's not a significant grade change in the majority of this project. Simple formwork, contractor comes through, removes topsoil, removes the unsuitable material beneath, places compacted material beneath the sidewalk and pours a 5-inch sidewalk. Top left is the forming, top right is the active pouring. Once again, that pouring would be done from the road. So very, very little construction activities on the town property in any of your front yards. That work would be performed on the road, and then that finished surface at the bottom would be effectively what you would see. We would back that up with grass, and the following slides show from the Cheshire project what would be finished grade or finished application. You see that grass and the snow shelf. You see the concrete sidewalk, and you see the utility poles in proximity that we were working with there in Cheshire. You also see the handicap ramps at intersections as well. So with that, the final slide here is, as Bill had noted, there are future phases of the project that town staff can go into more detail with you on, and then contact information. Here is the contact that comments and questions can be received and distributed out from the town. Consultants, be it myself and Karen. So with that, I will wrap up, turn it back over to town staff, and thank you very much for the time.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin and Kim. I really appreciate your time for putting this much efforts in this presentation. So for last one, all the contact, all the emails, any additional input you have after the meeting, anyone who has not gotten chance on today's meeting or any feedbacks, traffic calming at fayettevillecp.org. You can send your questions, feedbacks, additional input to this email address with the subject line McKinley School Improvement Access to Pedestrian. I just said McKinley School. If it's too long, put it in the subject line first phase. McKinley School first phase, that would be the subject line. We will be monitoring all the comments, additional feedback. We are actually going to put this as well online on the webpage as it is mentioned. Just for the time, because everybody is here today, we will put it for 10 days, again, for the public comment period to put your feedback for 10 days. After 10 days, we will see what the comments are, what the feedbacks are, and then we will start incorporating into the result. As we said, this is just a preliminary draft. Haven't proceeded anywhere other than just a surveying right away, constraints, what we can do with this sidewalk, what are the alternatives. So once we have received all the feedback from everybody, we will start incorporating the comments and we'll be revising those plans. So depending on what comments and what feedbacks we are getting with the plan. So that will decide that we'll go to the next phase, which is percent, and then obviously it will go to 9%. We will be also sharing all the plans on this webpage, all the revised plans will be shared periodically. Once they will start updating the plans, we will be sharing the plans. The schedule is as well is on this webpage for this project. We are on schedule. You can see the very elaborate schedule that we have down, the days and times and duration and when we expect the construction to go. So most of the information is on the webpage with this plan showing first and second. We will be also putting the preliminary plans that we have presented today to see, so everybody can see. So now we're going to start with the questions and answers. All questions will be going first. Somebody will have to come here on this podium. Please come here if you have, and then all questions will be going to Bill Hurley and he will be answering. And please state your name and address before you question. So let's start here.
Sure. Sam Fisher, 80 Barrow Street. I own a bunch of houses on Vesper. My question is this, out of the 1,500 residences that are in the projected area, how many homeowners actually said, I want a sidewalk? Does anybody know the answer?
Bill will start taking mostly the.
No, we did not poll 1,500 residents. As I said before, the school has a requirement of they deem anybody living within 3/4 of a mile to 1.5 miles as walkers. We had gotten probably anywhere from a half dozen emails, maybe another half dozen phone calls, where again, people were saying, you know, I almost got hit by a car. When I'm driving my kids to school, there's people walking in the middle of the street. We've had parents who live on these roads say, I don't feel safe walking my kids to school. We're demanding sidewalks, we're demanding safety improvements. As I said before, 2013, this was a preliminary discuss because it was a town-wide sidewalk inventory and master plan. And they highlighted a couple of the schools that absolutely had the absolute minimum sidewalks so that kids could walk to school. There's also health and environmental benefits that go in. Obviously, we all know there's an obesity with our youth problems.
What happens if the 1,500 homeowners decide to petition the town and say, we don't want the sidewalks? What happens then?
Well, the town officials will then make a decision. we would turn back if they decided not, we would turn back the money, and good luck trying to get another grant. They don't look upon it friendly when municipalities turn back grant money. That's not to say you can't do it.
Mistake in the first place, right?
Well, that's your opinion. We do have a lot of supporters, and I can read some excerpts, pro and cons, but I don't think we have the time for that. If we do, I will.
We've been going to McKinley School for 50 years.
Right,
Some of us actually went to McKinley School,
that's correct.
and we're still here, thank God.
That's right. But you have to admit, since COVID, speeds have risen, pedestrian use, bicycle use have risen. As I said, the town has a complete streets policy and a Vision Zero. They're trying to eliminate all serious injuries and accidents and deaths by the year 2034. You say it can't be done? Well, and
In your heart, that anyone can eliminate all accident.
Yes.
please, no, that's all right. We'll direct. It's not a.
Try, but.
That's a goal, but you know what, if we reduced it by 80%, would anybody complain? I wouldn't, so. But those are your opinions, let me just ask, while you're there too, and again, we're trying to limit it to a couple of minutes, and then you can always come back, make sure everybody has a chance. But why are you opposed to the sidewalks? What's the main reason why you're opposed to the sidewalk, if I may ask?
Who's gonna clean them?
Maintenance?
Whose liability is it? Right? Some towns have an ordinance where you have to keep your walk clean.
Mhm.
And if you don't, they fine you. And lots of crazy things happen because people who run town governments are idiots, most of the time.
Well,
Not all the time,
So,
most of the time.
let me just, last follow-up,
Sorry.
because I can answer that.
sorry, we just demand a little bit of respect today. Here we are just for connection and sidewalk that we are presenting. We have spent time. Please respect, please don't use stupid or any curse words. And we will try
Not a
to
curse word.
answer any limited questions.
All right.
Please be
But we try to be
respectful.
respectful.
Hold on a second, hold on a second. No.
Please
It's
respect.
freedom of speech.
That's fine.
Should be some decorum, but don't tell somebody what to say.
No, I'm not saying, please be respectful, stupid town government is.
But
not
if they say it, they say it. You can't.
Please be
limit that.
respectful. That's all I'm demanding today. Please.
I can answer some of those questions because I imagine people will have the same questions. As far as maintenance, okay? Many areas in the state require, for sidewalks that the homeowners get assessed. They're responsible for 100% of the maintenance and installation and liability. Here in the town of Fairfield, the only requirement is that you do maintain the sidewalk on a daily basis. So if it does snow, yes, you will have to shovel and remove the snow. But let's take a look at the last 3 or 4 years. It's only snowed once or twice that you would require shoveling. That's not to say it won't happen next year, but that's one of the things. As far as liability, yes, if you don't shovel the sidewalk, and this actually did happen, where somebody was forced to go out in the road, that could be an issue. However, cracked sidewalks where if a tree root happens to push it, a utility comes in, if they were hired by the town or by the utility company to do a repair, all those type of liability responsibilities would not be on the homeowner. So I just want to make those things clear.
Did you take a 75-year-old guy who's got to go out and shovel the sidewalk in the middle of the winter?
That's right.
You can't pay the.
But how does he do his driveway? That would be my question. How does he do his driveway?
Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't.
The town actually did try to, and maybe they'll do it again, have help with the seniors shoveling program with some of the school children, the older ones obviously in high school. That is something we could look into. We do work with the senior center.
Sorry, I forgot your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bill Earl. Yep.
This town drives me nuts because I had an issue at McKinley, all right? There was a pothole as big as me in the parking lot. 8 months, all right? 8 months to get it fixed. So when it comes to sidewalk maintenance and anything else, I have no faith at all whatsoever. I mean, people go to work and they try hard, but If the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing, it's a total waste of time.
The only thing I could say about that is the DPW and the engineering department didn't have anything to do with that. That's a Board of Ed thing, but I'll pass that along because obviously there's probably potholes that are still there.
No, they
and others-
redid the whole parking lot finally, but it's just.
In the interest of time, though,
Hey, with town.
I think-
in the interest of time, thank you very much. And if we go around and we still have
Well,
time.
we're running out of time.
That's right.
Please, 2 minutes, please. We have additional input. You can always provide a feedback.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, Bill, a couple of things I want to get straight first. Who's representing the first selectman in this room right now?
Right now, the engineering department is.
No, is the first selectman the person that's acting in his place?
Billy,
Wish him well, but who is acting in his place right now?
Sarah, do you?
Oh, actually, we do have someone from the first selectman's office.
Hi. No, I'm Sarah Mason. I'm the constituent relations coordinator in the first selectman's office. Christine Vitale intended to be here tonight, but with the passing of Bill Gerber earlier this afternoon, she's not able to be here.
Why are you having this meeting?
They didn't know, nobody knew.
I didn't want to, it just
It
happened.
just happened. It literally.
Well, I'm
happened.
calling for an adjournment of the meeting and postponement, because I think that's a pretty serious thing.
That's not,
It is, but in the same token, to be honest with you, he felt very strongly about this. I would think he'd want to continue on. For the sake of the people who are here, we can continue on.
I would echo that, Bill. You would
Yes.
want this meeting to happen. I am here with my first selectman office hat on. And I will be taking notes and will be talking to everybody in the office tomorrow.
The other thing I would say is if this affects you in any way, by all means, you're entitled to leave.
No, I mean, I was gonna say,
And have
some
your-
things. I'm not gonna say them now, because a
But-
year ago,
But you can put them, yep, you can, please, that's like for everybody on both sides there, you have to be respectful.
but in terms,
But you can put in your comments and they will be part of the record. If you want to do it, as Meg had said, traffic calming at fairfieldct.org, McKinley School, you can put your comments in.
the other, any other representatives other than Rob, is Rob still here? Or he left?
I'm here. I'm Nancy Johnny.
Nancy, hi, so Nancy's here, anybody else? Kristen's here, not here? Tony Wang, were they encouraged?
They did attend the first one.
No, Tony didn't, Kristen did.
Tony's on vacation. He was not able to come.
All right, oh, and just a little side note before I get into my time. I don't want to be here. It's July.
That's right.
I want to be out in my backyard sipping a pina colada or something. And a lot of people aren't here because it's vacation.
That's right, that's
There
why.
should not be meetings like this between 4th of July and Labor Day.
Sir, your 2 minutes has started.
No, I didn't start my.
No, it is.
I'm asking
It has
questions.
started. It had
I
started.
ask questions.
But I'll also be honest with you, you know what? We've done this all the time with DOT meetings. We've done it with.
Okay, that's fine, Bill. So
But
the
here's,
other
no, I
question
wanna
is,
know, let me answer.
okay,
But there's that
Spend my
part,
time.
right, for 30 seconds, I could answer. Well, we have it in September. Oh, school just started, whatever. Then it's October, November, December. It's the holidays. We have it in January, February, snow conditions or ice conditions or whatever's going on. April is spring break. There's never a good time to have a meeting. That's why we are allowing, because we realize that it's hard for people to attend. That's why we're extending the comment. People can look at that.
Okay.
No problem.
After,
Sure,
you mentioned something about there was an October meeting.
October 2024.
Was there an October meeting? The last meeting I recall was last July.
McKinley, I thought it was October.
Yes.
That was in August.
August 14th.
Yeah, but you said
All
October.
right, I apologize. I didn't have the right
I wanna
date.
be clear
I,
about
going by memory, I'm
All
sorry.
right. So,
Last fall, if that makes it, whatever.
so this is whatever, but so many millions of dollars of our tax dollars. Bill, where does that money come from in the form of taxes and grants? Where does it come from?
The one, community connectivity grant comes from the state of Connecticut.
Okay, so that money comes directly from the residents, from property
Right.
taxes.
And like I said before, it was a competitive grant.
No,
And if
but-
we didn't take it, somebody from Plainville or.
I'm not concerned about that, but it's our money, it comes from us. Okay, so there's, and I can speak for a lot of people with no direct communication. Now, going back, I was never directly contact. I was dealing with something else with you, which has to do with the town. So there's the communication has been really poor to all the residents. I took a survey here and I've got a few more at home and it's gonna grow. I think I got about 15. Everybody said no. They don't want sidewalks in front of their house. All right, now, the selectmen sent out a letter a while ago talking about the benefits of sidewalks. And I just want to address his points very succinctly here. He talked about property values. They would increase due to improved walkability and attractiveness. Where's the evidence of this? In fact, there's going to be less greenery due to asphalt and concrete being added, not to mention the runoff and privacy. He talked about safety. Safety for pedestrians, reducing the risk of accidents. Where's the evidence for this? Actually, safety increased pedestrian traffic and scooters and bikes is going to increase the probability of an accident that we will now be liable for, which doesn't exist right now. An injury from shoveling, heavy snow, we talked about that. Not to mention you shovel the snow and the plow comes along and buries it again. There's no snow, there's no snow shelf for the plows. He also talked about health. It encourages walking and physical activity. I don't know, I mean, it's going on now. A lot of this stuff is going on right now out in front of my house. It's increased. And I raised 4 children in this town. And now I have grandchildren. No sidewalks. It just was never built for sidewalks, this community. Then also connectivity, enhanced connections within the community. And how does building a sidewalk enhance connectivity? I don't understand that. I need clarification on that. Okay, it encourages, I don't know, people I don't know walking past my house. I mean, people walk by now, I talk to them, but I don't know what that means. Ease of access to the schools and amenities. What are the amenities we're talking about by putting in a sidewalk? Amenities, I'm not clear on that. And then social interaction. Okay, sidewalks serve as public spaces where neighbors can meet and interact. Okay, I can see possibility, but I don't know. I'd like to see the evidence. I mean, a lot of these things are said, and like you said, that's your opinion. I see these were opinions of the first selectman when he wrote this. And now we talk.
Yeah, your time, you gotta wrap up though, in fairness to
Yes.
everybody else.
Now, leaf cleanup in the fall. Okay, that's another potential problem. If a leaf falls on there and it gets wet, somebody slips and falls, what you're doing is you're creating a liability for those of us who have paid our dues. I mean, I've lived here 30 plus years, 35 years.
Sir, please make your closing comments.
Huh?
Please make your closing comment.
I am making my closing comments. I've been waiting a year.
Okay,
I haven't heard from you for a year.
No, it's not.
All right.
So we will take like, you can, Bill, right
Come
now.
back if you
comment,
want, after
and
everybody's
we'll be
done.
posting
I
these-
understand
we will
that,
be
but
Posting these answers to his comments, Bill, because there are.
Okay, I have answers to
other
them.
people, and there is in Zoom also. people.
Right.
So we'll take your comment, he will write it down, we'll get back to you with the answer.
okay, so you mentioned something about respect before and the overall from the town. Nothing personal here,
No,
but I don't feel any respect from the town. They're not respecting my contributions over the years. They're not respecting my space. So you want respect when we come here. It's gotta work both ways.
And please have,
Thank
please, can you say your name and address? Name and address,
Oh, he knows. Steve O'Connell, 36 Pope Street.
thank you.
thank you. All right, am I good to go?
Yes.
Your name and address?
Absolutely. My name is Sarah Broy and I live at 3 Buena Vista Road. First I want to start, and I will be brief and I will try to respect the
Thank you.
time.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you to our civil servants who are here tonight. You work tirelessly and often without recognition to make our community stronger, and we're lucky to have you. And Bill Gilbert, this is for you. When my family bought our home, only about 60 feet of sidewalk existed out front. We willingly installed more than 120 additional feet along the side of our property, bringing it to over 180 feet in total through the help of a public health grant. And on the rare snowy day when we shovel all of it, I'm reminded what a privilege it is to live in a place where we can contribute something so simple and so meaningful, a safe place for our neighbors to walk. That sidewalk is more than concrete. It's a daily offering to the kids walking to school, to the parent with a stroller, to anyone who just wants a safe path. When I've needed help clearing it, I've asked my neighbors, and they've always stepped up. Being a good neighbor shifts how you see your community, and it's made me feel deeply connected to mine. To those who oppose sidewalks, I invite you to think about the kind of neighbor you want to be and the legacy you want to leave. Think about the joy, the safety, and the small daily connections sidewalks make possible. And those are backed up by data and research, and I'd be happy to share those citations with anybody. And if you're worried about upkeep, just ask your neighbors for help. You might be surprised by how generously they respond. Let's build communities where sidewalks lead not just to destinations, but to deeper connection, kindness, and care. Our future depends on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, good evening. Karen During, 82 Cardinal Street. And many of my questions are specifically kind of posed with Cardinal Street in them, although I'm sure they could kind of branch on to the other folks who have questions on their streets. But I think the biggest issue that we have right here, at least from my vantage point, when we're talking about connectivity, there is a huge disconnectivity in the way that this project was born and the way it grew. I have to say that I was outraged, and I still am, that I read about it. I asked my neighbors if they knew about this. We looked into the origins of it all on our own. Learned that there were 3 or 4 emails of support, a petition that was allegedly out there, that all were used in an application for a grant representing Cardinal Street as overwhelmingly in favor. So we could take sidewalks as a topic off the table and use any topic and say, where is the transparency? Where is the communication? And where's the fairness and openness to ask for all input, whether we agree or not? Many of us, most of us, had no seat at the table at the ground level. And that's what's causing a lot of this blowback. And I think we all have a right to share as taxpayers and residents and folks who have lived personally 33 years on Cardinal Street to know exactly what was driving this and why we had to go chasing after the information on our own. This was not a neighborhood collective. So for example, some questions. In the interest of time, I'll try to be quick, but what was the basis for targeting Cardinal Street? Again, I'm talking about my street, but it could be any of these streets. Specifically, what was happening? Where is the data? How many Cardinal Street residents specifically requested construction of sidewalks? And did the request involve any non-residents who might have been advocating for this? Was there a traffic study done on Cardinal Street that provides accurate data to support the necessity for sidewalks in a street such as ours? We've asked for this, we haven't gotten it. Other construction of sidewalks, other than that, what other safety calming measures were considered? We would have been happy to have a discussion as a neighborhood. I've been involved in them in my years living on the street. Called meetings and talked as a neighborhood. That did not happen. 4-way stops, big bike lanes, crosswalks, ideas. What's going on that we need this particular construction project? What's driving it? No discussion. And a misrepresentation, by the way, of our neighborhood. What impact would this have on drainage? We have a water problem on our street. Some pumps, okay? People are curious about they're concerned about this. Has there been a study? And maybe there has, but we have no information. And what impact's taking every last strip of grass that we have left? What impact? Because I've seen 3 construction projects go through Lower Cardinal. And we've seen the impact. So again, I think to make sure that I respect other people's time, process, communication, inclusion. Not happening, did not happen. And it's disconnectivity of the neighborhood. And I think that's where you're feeling the static, because I know that's where it's coming from for me. And I'm very disappointed that we have to be put on the defensive and sometimes also perceived as people who don't care about safety, which is completely not true. Lived in the neighborhood a long time. So I hope you can take that message to heart, and I thank you for listening.
Hi. My name is Arlie Cole Doyle and I live at 692 Naps Highway. Maybe I can answer some questions for some of you out there because I created noise around this 10 years ago. I live on Naps Highway, the corner of Tungus Hill. I have a son who just graduated from Ward. I've grown up in this town, like you. My father grew up in this town. My great-grandmother grew up in this town, in all different areas of town. This is not the same town that we grew up in. This is not the same town that you walk your children to school. It's not the same town that I walked my graduate to school. Our neighborhood is extremely transitional. When I bought my house 10.5 years ago, it was what I could afford. It's what some people can still afford. But that means we have more people living in this town, more people living in this neighborhood than ever before. We have elementary school walkers and we have high school walkers. My son and my spouse have both almost been run down walking on Naps Highway to Ward High School. The streets that they're talking about have a lot of walkers and perhaps other people that maybe also advocated for sidewalks. These all got dragged up because we got grants and we got more money, which we should be happy about. We should be happy that we have more people out there wanting to be healthier, fitter children, adults. I am sorry if you are upset that you are going to lose some grass or that you might have to ask the young boy that lives next door to help shovel your sidewalk if it snows. But what we're arguing over is so stupid in the big world of things right now. We're arguing over whether or not we should provide safety to a town that has exponentially grown in numbers. 5 years ago, I watched how many kids moved into my neighborhood and started walking to school through a state highway and an intersection that has city bus stops on it. There aren't proper signages. There aren't proper overhangs. There's one crosswalk at a major four-way intersection. Please make this make sense to me. Please make it make sense why you don't understand that the town that you grew up in or raised your children in 45 or 50 years ago is not the same. If you want to know why this all started, it's because I spoke up. Because I saw something that I felt was concerning and needed to be fixed. Was the communication great? No, it hasn't been. And I don't work for the town, so I don't know how it all works.
I have a question.
Yeah,
Are there sidewalks on Knox Highway?
there are sidewalks on Apps Highway, but they're not on Tungus Hill on both sides.
Okay, but on the corner, you live on the corner of Tungus?
I'm like 3 houses in on Apps in the corner, yes, where there are accidents on a weekly basis.
Okay, but there's usually a crossing guard there. And as I remember, that there were sidewalks on the opposite side.
But I'm talking about, I'm
All
talking
right,
about.
we gotta stop.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I am more than welcome to have a conversation with anyone in my front yard about this.
I can follow up in that the town was actually, when we paved Naps Highway, we actually reconstructed some of the sidewalks.
Sidewalks, that's what.
Some of the sidewalks are a part of this grant, believe it or not.
But there's one crosswalk for a 4-way intersection. Make that make
That's true,
sense.
that is true.
All right, thank you, Arlen.
So, sorry, I started it.
I can start things in. Sidewalks.
Hi, my name is Rob Blanchard. I'm a member of the RTM along with Nancy down to the 6th district, which represents all of the streets in this neighborhood. I think we all would agree that pedestrian safety is important if we're going to encourage walkability, transit-oriented development, development near the train station and healthier communities. It is about street connectivity. And I do kind of applaud the town for taking steps a couple of years ago to make sure that we have a real plan in place. We're not just piecemealing streets and neighborhoods. What I'll say is, and I know, in a way, I apologize. I email you guys probably once a week about this because it is important to many residents in the room here. And I think what would lower the temperature of this project and help to get people more on board and feeling more comfortable with it is just a little more communication. And I know the town is juggling a lot of different projects. I understand that you're dealing with bigger projects, more expensive ones. But I think for some residents, they felt that this happened without their input and that maybe other ideas and methods of connecting the streets were not all exercised. And so I believe that everyone here probably is for pedestrian safety and ensuring the kids get to school safely. But if we can exhaust all resources, whether that's changing the way that the streets go directionally, be it one-way maybe, or crosswalks in between the streets that are more inward, or adding stop signs or helping police with more enforcement, I think that would help to alleviate a lot of the concerns. I think that, this is certainly something for the engineer, but people just want to know that the questions they ask, they get an answer to, whether they maybe like it or not, or that we've tried to do everything we can to understand whether their concerns can be addressed, or maybe this is something that everyone's got to kind of live with. Don't love it, don't hate it completely. So I think there is a way to get everyone to the table and find a plan or a way to achieve this that is a little more collaborative and has everyone's concerns in there, but also ultimately achieves the goal of pedestrian safety. So I continue to stand ready along with the other folks in the RTM district and happy to help communicate issues, or some folks want to meet once a week, once a month even. I know that may be a bit overkill given your schedule, but I want to help folks get more information so that you get more buy-in, so that people feel more comfortable or more on board with this project. So thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
I just want to follow up on the communication part. In engineering alone, we have 35 grants that are going on at the same time. Some of them are town-wide grants. We cannot notify every single resident. We rely sometimes on the RTM members. We rely on, newsletters that are being put out. We didn't know why get the whole neighborhood riled up if we're not even going to get the grant. These are things that, yes, we could possibly improve on. But as I said before, the whole project process, this actually should have been our first meeting. So the fact that people wanted all these involvements way before,
I understand.
it's very hard to do. So I just wanted to let you know that we've been following the process and actually even have expanded the process for the communication. But the information's on the website, and now that we have, we didn't even know what side of the street it was on.
Yeah.
So now we at least have things. We can deal with an individual property owner and see if there's some concerns. There is some little bit of tweak just to have abracadabra, the project go away. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I don't think the town officials want that. They made this a top priority. And matter of fact, the state, as I said before, the state has even given us more money.
Yes.
Very competitive grant environment. So they believe in the project. The town believes in the project. And at least a good portion of the neighborhood does, but there's some opposition. And maybe some of the people in the opposition, maybe the sidewalk's not even on their side of the road. We didn't even know that. So take a look at the plans, see how it affects your property, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Ryan. I reside at 33 Cardinal Street. So some of the points that I want to bring up is from our side, it's not about we want a sidewalk or not. The thing is that we are using this grant, like our neighbor pointed out, it's our tax paid money, and we are not making a good use of the grant. There are bare spots, like you mentioned, beginning of the presentation. There is bare spots all over the town. Talking about McKinley, the catchment area of McKinley School is far. I know families who walk all the way from May Street. And if you take photographs, I have photographs of myself. If you walk or if you drive across Old Stratfield Road towards May Street, it's dangerous. There are cars parked on both sides and people are dodging cars and people and parents with strollers, older people, young kids, they're all dodging cars. They're running across the street. And we don't have any data on what happens on Old Stratfield Road and Lennox Road. Vehicles are literally flying by on Old Stratfield Road and Lennox Road. There are no stop signs. And we are talking about these side roads, Hope and Cardinal. I don't understand why town is so much concentrated on Cardinal, Hope, or the parallel streets when there's bigger issues. Because I know last year when we started the presentation, we spoke about grant we want to use the grant for greater purpose. And this is not a greater purpose. This is just concentrated purpose. There's no public opinion. There's you mentioned about public support emails. I don't know how many support emails you got, but I feel this particular grant is not being used in an effective manner. Just concentrating on Cardinal, Hope, or the parallel streets there, it's not going to solve the bigger issue. The bigger issue we have to see and use the grant for is how to solve issues on traffic issues on Old Stratfield Road, Lennox Road, and Naps Highway. I mean, Naps Highway, there may be 2 stop signs, one at maybe across the street from McKinley, and then there's one near Ward. But what about in between that? I asked this question during the previous meeting, and I was told, if there's a stop sign, what is the guarantee that vehicles will stop? I mean, I don't know, I don't take that answer, but I don't understand if what a sidewalk will do to resolve any of the other issues there. So my request to the town and to the residents is that let's look at a bigger issue, let's holistically look at the bigger issue of Old Stratfield Road and Lennox and Naps Highway, rather than concentrating and wasting money on this interior roads, because we are not expecting kids and families to magically appear on Cardinal and then the sidewalk ends at Cardinal Street and then boom, God, how are we going to, how are we going to bring families and people with strollers to Cardinal Street? How are we going to bring them there? There's nothing on Old Stratfield Road. So please address that issue first instead of just concentrating on these little streets.
Just to let you know, though, that is the phase 2 of the project.
So that should be, sir, sorry, you guys are more experienced, but that should be the phase 1. I mean, how are we expecting people to use Cardinal?
Let me just explain the purpose of the grant really quick. It's connectivity. If we did Old Stratfield Road, how you have to take one of those streets, Pope or Vesper or Cardinal, to get to the school. You can't just go.
It's the other way around, sir. It's the other way around.
It was connectivity to
I
school.
understand your point. It's just a technique. Sorry.
Melville.
Yeah.
Melville has sidewalks.
Yeah, I mean,
So they're gonna walk, 3/4 of a mile all the way up and all the way.
sir, I've seen.
That's perfect.
This
Thank you.
is the reason we need data. There's no data because we see families all the time dodging vehicles on Old Stratfield Road. And if we are not resolving that, there's no point. And it will just remain as a Band-Aid project. There are Band-Aid sidewalks all over the town, and this is just going to be same way.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Ryan.
Hi, Robin Drignett, 156 Cardinal Street. I don't have any kids, so I'm not sure about the sidewalks. I don't really think the sidewalks are going to make a difference. Because when I see the kids walking on the street, they walk on the street, they have their head down, looking like this on their cell phone, and parents. So I don't really believe that sidewalks are gonna make a big difference in our neighborhood. I think even if we have sidewalks, they're still gonna walk on the street. And that's just my opinion. I've lived there for 35 years and it has changed. The neighborhood has changed. And of course, when they say that it's not the same when we went to school, no, because we did walk. We had friends, we walked, we didn't have cell phones. We weren't bothered by other things that disturbed us while we were walking. And for the most part, most people with their cell phones, they don't pay attention to what's happening anyway, if there's gonna be a street or there's gonna be a sidewalk. So I just wanted to.
Oh, sure.
Okay?
Anya Mizak here, 289 Brookline Terrace, Fairfield. I want to echo the thank you to the engineers in the room and everyone else who's been behind this behemoth effort and trying to make this grant possible and trying to design the sidewalk connectivity. I'm a huge fan. I advocate for connectivity for walkers and bikers all around this town and beyond that. For any of those who are asking about studies that make sidewalks safer, Google it. There's tons out there. Sidewalks make it safe. For anyone who said we need research for every single block to see if it's going to make a difference, Google it. Sidewalks are safe. Do you really want your taxpayer money to go to study every single block in town before we put in a sidewalk? Talk about a waste of money. I know people are extremely concerned where taxpayer money is going. So it shouldn't be going to study every block. We need connectivity in this entire town for people to be able to walk, for kids to be able to walk. So like a previous speaker here, I grew up on Naps Highway. My parents still live on Naps Highway. I have a brother who doesn't live far away. My elderly parents are walking back and forth the very streets that are about to be covered. Covered in those drawings. My niece and nephew are biking up and down those streets. I worry for them. You know, my mom's car has been totaled at one of the stop signs there because of just the way people are driving. You know, I want her to feel like she can walk safely back and forth. I don't want to worry about my niece and nephew or my parents. We absolutely need sidewalks. And for anyone who's been arguing that the communication has been poor, yes, I admit it. This town could have done a better job of kicking off this. But I think we could have done a better job of kicking this off. But it's been years since then. We've now been talking about this for a year. So when will people drop the fact that the communication wasn't poor? You've now had a year to provide your feedback. You're seeing these drawings. You're providing the feedback today. What is the issue? Here it is. Here's the communication. I don't know what more people want.
We've done without our
No one
knowledge.
responded. We
That's
sent the
not-
emails and we
We've
did,
done
no
without our
one responded.
knowledge. That's not communication.
So we can continue to work. I mean, I'm not on the town. The town can continue to communicate individually. But ultimately, this is about the community. This is about the town of Fairfield. This is not about the individual residents and how much of their front glass.
Anya, just directed it to the project and.
Sorry, I wanted to defend you guys, you know, I wanna say like, this is good, we need to be doing this, and I wanna make sure that the naysayers do not overshadow the people who are in support of this project. So I'm sorry I was facing the wrong way, but that was my intention. I want you to know that you have my full support and many of the people here, some of whom are afraid to speak up because of the aggressiveness of their neighbors.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
What, threats from their neighbors? Oh.
I have the unique experience of being on the Town of Easton Planning and Zoning. And we did get a grant to do on Black Rock. Going from the bottom of the hill, Margaret and Ania, 41 Vesper Street. Connectivity is important. What are you connecting? Hunks's Hill, Knapp's Highway, Old Stratfield, Melville, they connect. Melville connects the high school. Tunxus Hill and Knapp's Highway connect McKinley and Tunxus Hill cut off. Okay, I don't see Tunxus Hill or Tunxus Hill cut off. I see a little bit of Knapp's Highway and I can't understand it. And Old Stratfield, that gentleman is absolutely correct. I didn't want my kids walking on the old Stratfield. And they walk to school. My oldest is 40, is gonna be 40 this year. They all walk to school, 4 boys. Both McKinley and the high school, except there was a certain time when they tore McKinley down, the original, and then rebuilt the new one. So I totally understand all this. Unfortunately, in Easton, the people didn't like it, and they didn't end up building those sidewalks. Okay, because they were gonna put them along the street. And that was really good because they were gonna connect it. Black Rock Road, people could bicycle, people could walk. I mean, what you're doing here is you're just putting it in front of people's houses for the hell of it because you got a grant. How does that make sense? Just because you got the money? Let's connect something with the money. Okay, I agree. Make the safety. And as for safety with sidewalks, yes, they are. But I have a house down in Florida and there's a little thing called electric bikes. And these kids are riding these electric bikes on sidewalks. They're dying, they're knocking people over. There's all kinds of stuff happening. So don't say it's making it just safe for pedestrians, because when you have these kids riding these bikes and they can't control them because they're making these bikes too fast. They're starting now down there 18 to have electric bikes that are powerful. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, but not in front of little side streets on big main roads that connect to things. And I agree with almost everyone who spoke. There's bits of everybody that really, they all said the truth. And yes, sidewalks are important, but not where you're proposing them on just for the heck of it. It makes no sense. Thank you.
Evening, everybody. So I'm Greg Pacelli, 212 Bullard Street. I'll send my comments separately regarding the sidewalks. I just have a few questions more specifically about phase 2 of the project. And looking, what kind of, you said the state awarded, so was it a state grant, LOTSIP, or investment fund? What's the funding source from the?
Phase 2 is a federal grant, carbon reduction. Yep.
And what's the timing like for that for phase 2 in regards to phase 1? Because it looks like there's, going to be some gaps in the sidewalk network.
Well, a little bit of a gap, but it might close up. We have a RFQ going out. Mega had written a RFQ. I think it's for next week.
This week, it's actually out, should be out today. So we usually give 4 weeks for RFQ to respond. This is whole program, the selection of the consultant. So it is going to take 3 to 4 months just selecting the consultant, getting on board. And then from there, again, the same procedure, 3 months of surveying. So you're looking around, 6, 7 months.
That'll be a separate design consultant that's taking care of it.
It could be the same one. We have to go through a competitive process to select
And
that.
that $3.5 million, that will include funding for design as well, or?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, for designing.
And I assume inspection as well will probably be under that umbrella.
That's correct.
It's federal. Understood. And then with phase 2, obviously with seeing all the sidewalks and everything, and it doesn't look like you're relocating any curb lines. Any consideration for, the realignment of any of the intersections, specifically at, Knapp's Highway, at Punxsutawney Hill, which is a dangerous intersection, coming off the state route there, and then also Old Stratfield, at Tunxus Hill as well. I was a little disappointed. DPW had paved all these roads last year and they didn't touch any curbs. They just repaved it and just left it. They didn't sign it right. They didn't stripe it. They added ramps, but they didn't add crosswalks. They put stop bars in the middle of the crosswalks. They didn't align the ramps either. So, and they also weren't installed properly because there's standing water there every time it rains. So, I'm supposed to look better.
Street is.
So this is off of Lennox, all the intersecting roads. If you look at all ramps that weren't installed. They were not installed properly. They don't, the tack pads don't align with one another. So I'm hopeful this job will be done a little bit better than the paving project, because the paving project was done quite poorly. You know, so it would be nice if those two intersections specifically are looked at and realigned to improve that, to improve those sight lines and also just calmer turning movements as well. To tighten up some of that radii. So I hope we don't just maintain the existing curve line and call it a day at those two intersections for phase two. Because I see the sidewalk is planned to run on Tungus Hill, but it doesn't show the intersection. So.
Greg, just to be, the two intersections, it's Snap at Tungus and Lennox at.
So it'll be Tungus Hill at, sorry, I usually just see Tungus Hill at Naps Highway, and then again at Old Stratfield at Tungus Hill as well. You can, you know, when you turn, make that turn and you can go straight or you can go left, and there's just a stop sign. It says oncoming traffic doesn't stop, which is very confusing. So that intersection really should be realigned and normalized, especially if you're gonna add a sidewalk there, because no pedestrian is gonna wanna cross that. I mean, it's dangerous to drive, let alone for a pedestrian to do that. And I also hope as well for phase two, or even technically for phase one, because you are directly across from McKinley School, I hope you're gonna add some sort of safer crossing there, whether it's a raised intersection or, you know, some mid-block crossing where you're gonna have curb extensions or RFBs or something that allows that a safer crossing for pedestrians at that
We
location.
finalize the agreement on that. We can look into those measures and see perhaps 10 or 20% could be covered, but I don't want to promise that at this time. As I said, there's conditions of the grant that we have to follow.
Yeah, no, understood. And
Certainly to incorporate that, shorten up the distance with bulb outs or narrowing the radius, I would think that would be approvable.
yeah, I mean, obviously you only have so much money with the community connectivity grant. So if there's some extra city money and the contingency money that you can utilize to make that happen. But I appreciate you all hosting this tonight. I know it's not easy. So those are just two of my biggest points. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm back.
All right, let me just, anybody else who hasn't spoken yet? If not, okay, yeah, please let them go first. You'll get your turn.
Alex, live at 25 Cardinal Street. I'm one of the people that did bug Bill at one point to try to get sidewalks put in. I think I'm unique here, because I think I'm the only one that's spoken here so far, who has kids that walk every day to McKinley School. We have to dodge cars every day going up to school. When you guys are at home, when the traffic forms at Naps Highway because of kids because of the buses and everything, people will cut down Cardinal and some other streets and fly down Lennox. I think these sidewalks are really needed in this area to get kids to school safely. That's a simple point to there. In a quick review of the plans, some of my concerns are, you know, some of the curbs are falling apart. Are the sidewalks gonna fall apart with it? I also noticed you guys look like you're just clear cutting all the trees as you're coming up with sidewalks on that plan. Can any of the trees be moved, or is there a plan to replant trees? You know, some of those trees, I know in our neighborhood, we paid through the tree program to get those trees put in. Is there any consideration of that as well? So I just want to kind of voice my support for the sidewalks, and that's about it.
Let me see, Kevin, can you answer on the trees? Were there a lot of trees being cut down or?
We avoided the significant trees where possible. There are smaller trees on the end of Cardinal. In fact, the end that we were discussing with you when we met you in the field, those smaller trees can either be relocated or replaced, and those would be coming out of this evening's meeting. We would be looking at property by property, assessing those trees that we're currently showing as a conflict. Some of the smaller trees, it may be cost effective to replace in kind. There are only a very small amount of significant trees that would be removed further up Cardinal and on Pope. So, but to your point, the next phase, we would be looking at each one of the trees as far as the health, the diameter, and then how we approach whether we're moving them back further onto the right of way or how we address them.
Thank you.
I have a quick question. You already met in the field and discussed when trees are going down, but so what is the point of the discussion about feet?
I'll defend him on that one.
No.
I saw him walking down the street I thought,
And that was the question.
I thought they were part of the, when we got the town trees put in, they labeled each tree. I thought they're surveying the trees. That's why I walked out to it. He goes, no, we're not surveying the trees. We're here looking at the sidewalk. And we had an informal discussion about it. Now that.
I completely feel disrespectful. This is just a waste of.
What was this?
So thank you so much.
When they're doing the survey, I thought, because they're looking at the trees. I
This is
thought-
completely disrespectful to all of us. I don't understand why this is even what, this, I'm hearing like, this is already done, everyone loves it, so why are we even discussing this?
That's because everyone doesn't love it.
Right.
Majority of people here don't love it. Wake up.
Majority of people don't know it's even going up. But do you hear what they say? It's already done deal.
Well, listen, go ahead.
Exactly.
Bye-bye.
Good enough.
My name is Joe Natty. I'm at 41 Vesper Street. Been there for about 45 years. You know, from what I'm hearing, you know, it's like, from my perspective, it's the liability of the sidewalks, okay? Now, there's a slip and fall. I mean, there's injury attorneys are going crazy in this, you know, in the state. You'll see these signs all over the place. They're just salvating at the door of suing someone, you know, if they slip and fall on the sidewalk, not because they're walking in the street, because they slip on and fall. So if the town is willing to take up the liability for someone slipping and falling on the sidewalk, that might change the perspective of some of us, all right? The other thing that I'm concerned about is that I think there's more of a policing issue here that is needed than saying that the whole neighborhood needs to be safe, okay? Obviously, these cars are flying down these streets. I think when school is in session, we really need more of a police presence in the neighborhood, all right? I mean, I see them blowing past school buses while they're loading with flashing lights on Lenox. Really? I mean,
100 miles.
yeah.
Flying down.
Where are they? I mean, where are these people? Okay?
Like right by the stop sign.
Now, obviously that there are some sections of this neighborhood that really need the sidewalks because of the way the traffic pattern is. And that's Knapp's Highway and Tungus Hill, all right? That intersection is really a cluster headache. And I understand that, you know, one of the residents here who lives right in that area, yes, it does need some. The bus stop there is really ridiculous. I mean, it's covered with vines and dirt. Nobody even uses it. I mean, the project really needs to be analyzed from a traffic standpoint rather than making everything safe. I mean, if we have $3.5 million, grant, I mean, we could hire Ubers to drive them for 2 blocks from Old Stratfield Road to the school for $3.5 million rather than spending it on sidewalks. If we have that kind of money. And the other thing too is obviously that, I'm looking, we live in a neighborhood because we like the trees and it's a neighborhood type setting. All right, we talk to the neighbors. And conductivity, I see someone walking down the street, I talk to them. I have people that stop me while I'm working on my car in the driveway. So I don't think conductivity is really that much of an issue between Old Stratfield Road and Knapp's Highway. But granted, there is a lot that needs to be done with the way traffic flows in and out of McKinley while school is beginning and at the end of the session, okay? And I think that's more of a traffic thing that needs to be addressed. Obviously, they just redid the sidewalks going, from McKinley to the high school this past year, where they actually asphalted both sides. I understand that because I walked that with the dog, and a lot of that sidewalk was asphalt and lumpy, and it was kind of hard to walk on. That I could understand, but to do the entire neighborhood in concrete when I really don't think it's needed. The other thing too is that, when these developers are building houses, how come they're not required to put sidewalks in? Got Willow Crane Street, they put up, I don't know how many new houses. There was no requirement for them to put any sidewalks in. Most other towns, what happens is, you're gonna put up a house, new sidewalk.
I will pass that on to zoning. Typically, though, the zoning does require them to put sidewalks along their frontage. I don't know if they can have them do sidewalks that's not along their frontage, but I can check on that. And that was on Crane Street, you'd said?
Yes.
And Vasselberg.
Okay. So, granted for what the other woman said, that, you know, the neighborhood is changing. And she's right. The density in this town now has increased tremendously. And I think, you know, another issue which is not part of this is that I think we really need to focus more on the infrastructure of this town. I mean, emergency management. You know, what happens when we run out of water? If there's a drought that happened, you know, a couple of years ago. Can our water supply hold up for all these new units, 100 units here, another 40 units there? I mean, they're putting them up like crazy, right? What about our waste treatment plant? How much longer is that gonna hold up with all these new units? Everybody has 2 toilets they flush, right? Police, fire, schools. I mean, you know, if we put all these new units in with new, I mean, the whole thing really needs one big evaluation. And I think it's really up to our leaders to get together and figure out how we're gonna grow. How is this town gonna grow and sustain itself? So I think that's part of the bigger issue. And also we really need to know what's going on. I mean, you know, we didn't find out anything. It was just basically word of mouth. And I think the town really needs to do a better job of letting us know. And again, I mean, we have to contact our representatives because they were nowhere to be seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe.
Can I just say, it's not entirely accurate. It's not that we were nowhere to be seen. I've been communicating with neighbors.
Only you,
Okay,
Bob.
Barkley.
I made that point,
Everything
only
along
you.
itself.
I've never seen you.
Here's the problem. I'll just say this very quickly. We don't get paid as RTM members. We don't have a staff. We don't have franking privileges. We don't have an email list. You win one day and then you're on office the next. I will give you guys updates about anything you want, as will Nancy, my counterpart. If you guys want, I'll give you my cell, my email. But I don't know how to get in touch with folks unless they somehow find us or confirm their shares.
And I think what we need to rent the space, and I think we need to get together with you and everybody else, okay? And talk it over. In the meantime, we'll try and contact everybody else, word of mouth, right?
I'll make it.
And we'll try to hash it out, all right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rahul. And,
Please quiet.
My name is Rahul and I live on 409 Lennox Road. It's a corner building and I'm going to be impacted probably on both directions.
Can see you.
That's just my assumption based on whatever that was presented today. So first of all, my question was, did you guys look at simple solutions like putting speed breakers? Because if you're addressing traffic, that would be the best solution. Sidewalks wouldn't really avoid it. And then I don't see any issues of connectivity in that neighborhood. So for traffic to address it, I think speed breakers is the best way. And why don't we just have simple lanes by saying this is a bike lane? Because just by adding a sidewalk, it's not you don't have a surety that people walk on it or they drive scooters on it or cycling. Nothing of that sort would happen. You can even look for solutions like parking on one side of the street or maybe alternate days on this side and that side. So those are much simpler solutions rather than spending so much money out of it. And I had a few questions, like, for example, in my junction, the stop signal, there's only one stop board, not on all directions. What's that? And then regarding the liability. So now this sidewalk is going to go across 2 sides of my property. What if I'm not at home for about 2 months? There was a snowfall. How can I be liable on it? If you have enough money, why don't you improve parks around in Fairfield instead of spending money on these sidewalks, which is really required? Maybe in certain places, yes, it is required, not objecting it, but at the vast level, all the streets that you are mentioning, I don't see a big problem. But anyways, that's an open discussion.
Well, thank you very much. Just one last comment on that is, again, the grant money are specifically for pedestrian projects or certain projects. We might be able to incorporate some of these comments, maybe some traffic calming measures, things like that. But it's not like the state gives us the money and we can spend it any way we want, just to make it clear.
Thank you.
Sure.
Excuse me, sir, what was your name and address? I apologize.
Rahul, 409 Lennox Road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Laura Veneman, 106 Blue Ridge Road. I'm here today on behalf of, as well as a parent that lives in the neighborhood, in support of the sidewalks. I live down, I'm actually not even connected into the sidewalk project. I am probably on the furthermost outskirts of what is deemed a walker to McKinley. And currently, how we walk to school is we walk down Lennox Road. It is constantly deemed unsafe as we are attempting to walk down Lennox Road. Cars fly through any of the adjacent streets during any sort of school traffic times, and which is frequently during when the high school is coming and going or when McKinley is coming and going. They use Lennox as a throughway to kind of get through the traffic that builds on Knapp's Highway. As a result, cars don't stop. And while I would love for my kids to be able to bike to school now that they are both capable of, it is not safe. I've had to tell them numerously that we have to stop at every single crosswalk because cars just fly by through there. I also want to point out that the state has determined that a hazardous condition is deemed as a hazardous condition is considered any street, road, or highway that has no sidewalk or raised walk areas is deemed hazardous for students enrolled in grades K through 8. So I ask you to think about our most vulnerable students here. These are kids that we want to be giving them the opportunity to walk to school, to get out, to get that fresh air. And unfortunately, how it stands right now, I'm just not comfortable.
Thank you. Anybody else? Otherwise, we'll go.
There is Zoom chat as well.
Oh, thanks. Oh, yeah.
I just want to address that, any Zoom chats, because they're waiting.
It's a good point, Meg. I forgot.
And then once.
Just one.
Okay.
Will, on Lennox Road, will the sidewalk be on both sides?
Kim or Kevin, do you guys know that
The
yet?
answer is no. On Lennox, we're proposing sidewalks on the eastern side.
Eastern side. Thank you.
Have you spoken yet or no? Oh, I think one. Ed, did you want to go? Just trying to be fair with everybody.
Try to be real quick. Ed Terfay, 366 Old Stratfield Road, right in the corner of Vesper Street. I've been here since 72. I grew up on Crane Street from 1950 until I got married in 71. 3 boys, they've all gone to school and everything else. I realize everything has changed. I just don't visualize 5-foot wide concrete sidewalks in this part of Tungus Hill, the neighborhood. I grew up there, people moving in. So when you first bought a house there were no sidewalks. You didn't think at that time it's gonna be a little dangerous to walk in the road? My deck faces Vesper Street. I get to see Vesper Street and Old Stratfield Road. I sit out there, my wife sits out there. We got these, you talk about electric bikes, electric scooters. They come down the road. There's no stop sign. There is a stop sign on Vesper Street. They go through the stop sign and make a left or right. They gotta be doing 25, 30 miles an hour. This isn't just the kids, it's the adults with the kids. I walk not every morning, most mornings. I walk from Vesper Street, down to Melville, up Melville, Blue Ridge, Lennox Road, Tungus Hill, Ridgely, Melville Avenue down. So I'm there. I get out of the house at 7:50 every morning. And I see the traffic. What I also see is the parents are walking in the road with their kids. And the parents are, the kids are 30 feet ahead of them. Yeah. Again, I understand the safety reason with the sidewalks, I just don't visualize the 5-foot wide sidewalks. You're taking the town out of Fairfield by putting 5-foot wide concrete sidewalks up there. I just, maybe you want to put a 4-foot asphalt in, and I understand asphalt is a little, doesn't last long, because a lot of times, especially walking up Melville Avenue, I walk in Melville Avenue because the sidewalks on Melville Avenue suck anyway. I just don't know. It's, like I said, things have changed. People are crazy. They drive all over the place. Everybody has to pay more attention to what's going on. Like I said, I see it in the morning. The parents are walking their kids to the McKinley school from Marlboro. They're coming up Alton Place to Lenox. Nobody's paying attention.
That's right.
Yeah.
Got a question with these
Thank you.
scooters. Shouldn't there be a law because a lot of these scooters are going 25, 30 miles an hour?
I had a
And
problem.
they're going past the stop sign at red light.
All I wanna
Yeah.
say is.
Gotta wait your turn, and that's really a police matter. Okay, sure, go ahead.
Gonna be 90. And I've lived on Pope Street with my husband and I built our house in 1961. I grew up on Ridgeway Avenue. I'm here since I was born. And now with all this going on, I watch all these little kids since I lived there going to school. They jump, hop, skip, and they're happy. All the little kids are happy as could be. I watched my children went to McKinley School, my grandkids, I'm waiting for a grand one now, great one. I've got one, I'm waiting for another one. I see them all in McKinley School. I love this town, but this is ridiculous. I cannot see. I spent a lot of money on my front lawn and now it's got to be all dug up.
What's your name, ma'am?
I can't hear you.
What's your name?
Name and address.
Sorry, my name is Janet Rotundo. I live at 76 Pope Street.
Thank you.
I own the house up the street, 136. Now, supposing the people that want sidewalks and the town helps them and they put sidewalks, the people that don't want them, they just go along the way we are. Is that a crazy question? No. The town would be smarter. They do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen.
Good afternoon. Robert's Rules, 2 minutes. My name is Peter Robinson. I live at 77 Pope Street. As an introduction, I was on the elementary.
Could you speak up, please?
Sorry, my name is Peter Robinson. I live at 77 Pope Street. I was a member of the elementary building committee for McKinley School and Burr Street School. I also work for a local municipality, DPW. I had a question or two, very respectful at the time. The traffic counts that were conducted, how long ago was the research done and what was the comparison?
I don't have that information. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Is there a compromise with this town standard of 5-foot wide sidewalk to perhaps minimizing that down to 3 feet?
That one I can answer. The ADA has adopted what they call PROAG, public right-of-way accessibility guidelines, and they say 5 feet is what's required. Basically, it's allowed two-way, pedestrian traffic or a wheelchair and a pedestrian. In certain cases, like it's a utility pole or a tree, you might be able to squeeze it down to 4 feet at specific locations, but that's where the 5-foot was. Do you have anything else to add, Kevin?
No, Bill, that was my comment. Where necessary, we would, but formalizing PROAG recently, we are beholden to the 5 feet
And there are no
unless.
exceptions that are in that article that you're referring to.
So there, where the exception is would be the bump outs every, I forget, 250 to 300 feet. There would be that opportunity if there were constraints great enough that the town would be willing to reduce the 5. We would then be looking at locations for those bump outs.
The coordination between yourselves and the engineering department of Public Works would offer an opportunity to reduce the width of the vehicle that would take place.
I would defer to engineering staff, but it would be my recommendation that if there were constraints we saw that were great enough, that would be a recommendation we would make to reduce, and then a discussion internally with town staff.
How frequent has that been in other municipalities?
To reduce the size,
Sorry?
to reduce the size of the sidewalk.
Reduce the width, because we worked with other municipalities, not just Fairfield, not to be.
With PROAG being recently adopted statewide, I've not had the opportunity to work with municipalities in that waiver provision and reduce the sidewalks less than 5 feet. Working with PROAG as a guidance doc.
Last thing, when we talk about grants, William, was there any research done, because the traffic cameras being instituted pretty soon on some local roads, to have a camera on Knapp's Highway perhaps? But what happens is true. The thoroughfare actually is with Lennox. So if we're going to be doing sidewalks, do we not bring the radii closer in to the street in an effort to calm down the speed?
Do you have an answer for that? Quickly.
Yeah, quickly on that would be, is that something that, again, the first selectman's office or town officials and the police department would be involved in that? They have to petition the state to do speed cameras in school zones. I believe they've gotten 6 approvals and they have a current application where they're anticipating another 7 schools. But the state definitely defines the school zone in a particular area. So we would have to get back to you on whether that would be Lennox.
Because of the radii of the sidewalks, if they're coming into these intersections, so Lennox, right? The side streets come through, providing a sidewalk. So the standard street is 20 feet wide. You reduce that potentially to 16 feet and take 2 feet and 2 feet on both sides as an effort to reduce speed. Because you can have a cop, but it's temporary enforcement. That's all. Thanks.
Sure, thank you. So you're
I
ready
have a
for
question.
reduced roadway widths? Okay. Sure.
The question is, which side of Bullard Street, south of Lennox, will be sidewalk?
That we don't know yet, because that's part of phase 2, correct?
That's
We don't know yet.
Thank you. So can I just make a comment on enforcement, just?
All right, yeah, sure, go ahead. Go
Just,
for it.
a lot of people have left, but, if you have a request for enforcement, you can request that through the police department on the town website. There's reported issue, go follow the drop downs. The police are very responsive to those requests and they will send officers out. You mentioned though, enforcement is a temporary solution, engineering is a much more impactful solution. But if you are seeing an increase in issues, the police department are very responsive to address.
Okay, everybody else? All right, sure, go ahead. Thank you for waiting.
Zoom chats are over.
Yes.
Sam Fisher again. There's a misconception that most of the people are against sidewalks. It's not true. We're against these sidewalks. And when you speak of connectivity, just this one little section that we're showing on the map at the moment, all right, happens to be just by the school. But connectivity would be the entire route from Tunks's Hill to the high school, down Melville, back up Old Stratfield, okay, a large loop, okay? That means everybody can go everywhere, and we don't have to have a major concentration of these sidewalks in this one area, as a cut through, basically. And if you guys come out there and actually watch during the school year, what you'll see is many parents drive to these streets, park their car, walk their kid across Knapp's Highway, and then walk back across Knapp's Highway, get back in their car and leave. Basically, it's a matter of distrust of the town. And it all started with the school and the driveway and the parking lot and everything else that went along with that. And if you want a little more confusion, just go down Villa Avenue and look at all the drunk traps that they put up in the middle of the road. It's a phenomenal piece of lunacy to put curbs in the middle of the road, sticking out from the sidewalk and back in the middle of the road again. People don't understand it, and they get upset when they're not. You can't inform everybody. As our distinguished member from the RTM said, he doesn't have the phone numbers. Well, that's because it's not election time, because when it's election time, everybody's phone is ringing by every RTM member in town, okay? But people get disappointed, and it's not that they're against sidewalks. It's where they are and what the purpose is and how the money's being spent. That's all. They like to be included for their input. That's all it is, you know? And this young lady who said she doesn't speak up because she's, I forgot the word she used. I said something. Aggressive, okay? That's a piece out of the short-sighted party's playbook is all it is. When they can't get their point across, they say, oh, you were too aggressive and I wasn't allowed to speak. But we're not against sidewalks. We're just against where they are. That's all.
All right, thank you, Sam.
Steve O'Connell again. I support the loop idea. Melville, Tuxas Hill, Knapp's Highway. Spend the money there and we can have the kids walk and make them wider, put bike paths in there. Another thing that, I mean, I don't know about the pulling down traffic. That was the whole talk about. I work down in Darien, New Canaan a lot. There's speed bumps all over the place. So we can slow down traffic. You can make the roads narrower. We also talked about an option, Bill, about one-way streets is a possibility. But that's something that we should probably have another meeting on. Another thing to address is a lot of this is caused by the car problem. So it's kind of like cart before the horse. The town's not addressing the parking problem. I get someone across the street from me, happens to be a Section 8 house. They're nice people, they're renters. They've got 6 cars. And of course, they got to put them out in the street. There's just too much. And you can't get up and down the street. So that's a behavioral issue, and also behavior of people walking up and down the streets. There's some nice people that pass by. Sometimes I'm sitting in my den and I hear a scream. It's just kids walking by, but it's like, that never used to happen. The other thing too, just to close that, 30 years ago, I had Brenda Kupchak and a meeting in my backyard, and it was about young teenagers speeding up and down Pope Street and in area streets. It was dangerous because my kids were playing and they go out on the street. So that hasn't changed. The town has changed, but it hasn't changed. The more things change, the more they don't change. So I think that there's a solution to all of this to make everybody happy. Concentrate on Knapp's Highway, concentrate on Melville, concentrate on Tuxas Hill, concentrate on that state road. Have a recess for the bus. There's a bus stop there now. I see them putting in more bus stops, but there's no recesses, so the buses aren't causing traffic jams. So I think there are solutions that probably wouldn't cost the kind of money that we're talking about. But I know you're under pressure to spend this grant money, our grant money, which comes from our pockets. But I think we need to have more conversation about this. Thank you.
Thank you. And we might be able to incorporate some of these, so thank you.
One other thing, my name is Elena Dragoy. I'm living 216 Bollard Street. One thing, we are part of the phase 2 plan, so 2 questions. We want to know when the assessment will take place. Maybe, one of us, could be home at the time, so we just want to, figure out. And second thing is our driveway, it's quite small. And that 5-foot sidewalk is gonna take a lot of it. So I'm not so sure if we'll be able, to park our car in the front of the house anymore. So those are, a few things. So on a total different note, I'm a pediatrician and I'm totally, for safety, but, at the same time, if in the future, if you have any grants that, you are interested, to help the kids, food at school, exercising, anything at all, I'm in. All right, so please do not hesitate to, to call me, but I think, the food at school is number one cause, for, a lot of unhealthy issues that we are dealing with, and we are seeing that every single day. Thank you.
Okay, good. Thank you. So I think we're over and off. Any last question?
I think we should have a bigger time slot because there are a lot of people that are still talking behind. And I think we should have a little more forum that will.
Anybody else has a question? We still are not wrapped up, but repeating, you already got a chance.
We have another meeting. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, please, go ahead.
So this is just a preliminary, just to get your feedbacks. You're most welcome to even email. We are opening this for 10 days for additional input, and has not got chance to speak up today. But I'm not saying that we have to hush the situation. I see a lot of people are coming back. So if you have any questions, just, we interrupt, we have to go.
Where's the worst? When's this project supposed to start? Next year?
Well, the construction is scheduled in 2026. The schedule is on the webpage, very detailed schedule is there. And then the construction, it has to go all the procurement process. So we are looking around.
It's not gonna happen overnight.
No, and there are reasons. You see the webpage and you see the schedule open, you can see why we cannot have it overnight. There are a lot of other steps that is involved. We need to
Well,
incorporate.
that's a question I didn't ask. Is this a done deal?
I don't know, to be honest
We
with you.
don't know, so
Don't know.
get enough people.
It could be, or as I said, we'll have to check with town officials and we'll make that decision.
Can I ask you a question? My name is Debbie Tooley. I live at 164 Vesper Street. Who decided to come up with the area to put these sidewalks in? Were any of the people that live on these streets that are outlined, were they contacted either by mail?
No, like I said before, there was enough of a support
From the people? in
from the people who live in the neighborhood to support the project. There was enough input from the school, town officials, bike and ped committee, and people in the neighborhood. Some of them did speak up today. Some of them did not attend today. They'll probably be chatting or putting information on the web's email address.
Have everyone's address that lives in that particular area. They send out flyers for lots of different things. I would certainly think with something this important, that we would have gotten some kind of notification.
Again, the notification typically is at 30% design. If the town sent out notifications for everything that we were thinking of, we don't have, your taxes would like triple.
People are here just because.
Yes, I know, that's it.
I'm sure that they're very concerned and some are opposed
But
and some are.
On the Stratfield Road project, same thing. We had a road safety audit. We had people come out, some interested people from the neighborhood. But it wasn't everybody on the street. We did the same thing in Southport. We've done this all over. The 30% design phase is typically when there's public involvement. So that's what we're.
Not an awful lot of people that this involves. We're all.
No, the 30% is what we mean by 30% is 30% design phase. In other words, they're only roughly a third of the way done with the design. There's still a lot to go. That's why we hold the meeting now, so that if there were some changes, like somebody had mentioned, is it possible to go from 5 to 4? Well, we have to look back into that and see. Is it possible to shift it one way or another?
At least 2.5 months ago, somebody came by and marked our side of the street. Was that your people putting little flags or whatever up?
No, that could have been a call before you did or a utility.
They said it was for sidewalks. And we're on Vesper.
On that one there.
We're in.
And what street are you on? Yeah, because if it was on Naps Highway or something, that would have been the DPW, but I don't know who would have done.
I'm asking, the only question is, you followed through with some streets and then you missed some streets and then went over to another. Is it because it's closer to the school area?
That was the main reason, is
Is that
we
the
had
design?
some support, and we were trying to connect Old Stratfield area and, I want to get the street right, the one that cuts off, is that Lennox? And try to have it so that people, if they wanted to use the new sidewalk, they would only have to walk maybe a block without it before getting. On this, we only thought we had $680,000 to do this, so we couldn't do all the streets. And then when we came back to the state and they promoted, as I said, we got a lot more money to do the neighborhood, we might be able to expand. We'll find that out on the agreement. Thank you.
The quick question I had is, would you be ready to widen the horizon? Yes. Would you be ready to widen the horizon? So McKinley School catchment area is much more than this blocks that we have here, or we are showing here. The catchment area for McKinley School is much wider. So why not also look at avenues where we can make it safer for all the catchment areas, or from all the areas where families bring their kids to McKinley School, and add stop signs or traffic calming measures instead of just concentrating on these.
Again, the purpose of this meeting is to incorporate some of the comments. We'll have the engineers or the town will go and check and see, the grant parameter may allow us to expand it. Certainly for phase 2, we could do that. There's a possibility of that, but I don't want to promise that, because sometimes when you go for the grant, it's specific and they won't let you change it. Other times there's more flexibility. On the connectivity grant, this is a program that they instituted maybe about 4 years ago, so it's still a relatively new grant. We would have to find that out, but we will ask.
Yeah, I understand that, sir. It's for McKinley School project, but I'm talking about McKinley School catchment area.
Well, yeah, I understand what you're saying, yeah.
So instead of spending or wasting money on Cardinal and Pope, a few streets, why not widen the horizon and incorporate traffic calming measures on bigger streets and then come into smaller streets? That's what I was.
Okay, as I say, we'll look into that. Yep.
Take your comment.
Thank you, thank you.
You have to.
I think we're gonna wrap it up.
Yes, we have to wrap it up, considering today is a very, very tough week for all of us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming.